Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Overcome Yourself. I'm here today with Miss Aimey. And Aimey you're a coach, right? You're a mindset coach and you specialize in stories, which are so powerful. So take it away, Aimey. Tell me all about you and how you help your clients and how you can, use stories to just make the world better to help people.
So I'm Amy, and I am a growth mindset coach. And what I do is I help people get out of, or I help women, I work with women, get out of their own way, find their voice, and take action. And I do that by helping them find the stories that are holding them back. Because we all have stories that we tell ourselves, and some of them are beneficial, some of them are neutral, but a lot of times the ones that are holding us back are the ones that are negative. And when we find those stories and we acknowledge them, we're able to change them so that they can benefit us instead of holding us back.
Yeah, and those stories a lot of times we develop them to keep ourselves safe, right? So
Yeah.
it's not necessarily like a negative thing. That's one of the things I learned was having to accept those stories like as a part of you. And it's not a bad thing. It's just, something that we've got to learn. So tell me about more about like what you do and how overcoming yourself has been a part of becoming a coach. And I also want to mention how is your daily video thing going, your
It's going wonderful.
365 days. Talk to me about all of that.
Okay, so I wanted to like circle back really quick. You
Yes.
said you were you just mentioned about the stories. And another thing to think to keep in mind is you don't give all of your stories to yourself. You get stories from your family, you get
Good
stories
point.
from everybody that has influenced you in your life.
Hmm.
And they don't necessarily give them to you to hurt you. I actually just spoke about this on one of my 365 days of live, and I'm going to tell you really quick because I think it's so powerful. This girl was watching her mom cook a roast, and as she's watching her mom's cutting off both ends of the roast, and she goes, "Mom, why are you cutting off the ends of the roast?" And the mom's like, "I don't know. My mom always did it, so I've always done it." And she's like, "Okay." So she goes to her grandma and she says, "Hey, grandma, why do you cut off the ends of your roast?" And she's like, I don't know. My mom always did it." So she goes to her great grandma and she said, "Grandma, why do you cut off the ends of your roast?" And she said, "I had a small oven and the whole roast would never fit into my oven. So I had to cut off the ends of it so that it would fit in my oven." So that's like to me, that's like a kind of moment, because a lot of times things are passed down to us and we hold those into stories like, "Oh, you have to cut the ends off the roast because that's just how you have to do it." But we don't question why we're doing it or what the purpose is. And it was beneficial to great grandma, but it doesn't do us any good at all.
Wow, that's
So
awesome.
yeah, I love that little story because I feel like it embodies all of that. Um, so you asked me about the 365 days of live. So in December, I decided that I was going to get out of my comfort zone. And I had been a coach for about 6 months. And I was like, you know what? I am a little nervous about talking on camera. So, how can I get out of this? And I seen someone doing a Facebook Live challenge. And I'm like, you know what? I love this idea. And I was scared to death. I was so scared. And if you go back, and I'm on day 196, I think, today. I know, right?
Yay.
But if you go back and look at like my first couple videos, I'm like, uh,
Yeah.
I was so nervous, and I would like practice for like an hour or two before I would get on and do it. And I would do it for like a minute because I was so nervous. And now I like half the time I don't even think about it. I just hop on and I just start talking.
Love it.
So it's I think that being comfortable with being uncomfortable is good. And anytime that we can step out of our comfort zone, we're gonna grow. And it's made me a better speaker. I can stand in front of anybody and talk. No.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, that's the only way that we can really find our voice, right? Is to use it. Right. And I understand like when I first started recording, these podcasts and I was by myself or doing the interviews and I was so nervous and I'd be like stumbling over myself and I'd be like, and you got to go through that and you got to face it and you got to just do it and take imperfect action. I was just talking with another one of my clients about how important it is to stop waiting for perfection and just take imperfect action. Like you're not married to it. Like you can change it later, you just got to do it. And so that's a great testament, you doing your lives. And I mean, like, you definitely do not look nervous at all. You don't sound nervous. So obviously it's working.
Right. And I think that, like you said, it's imperfect action. You have to go through, like, everybody wants that secret sauce. Like, how do I become better at this? You just have to do it.
Just have to do it. Yeah.
And I could either do it sporadically whenever, do the live sporadically, and it would take me 2 years to get as comfortable as I am now, or I could just jump in and say, we're doing it. And it takes 6 months and I'm comfortable, So you just have to do it. You have to go through the process.
And so part of doing that is getting a coach, right? That's something that you told me that you had to do when you had to bite the bullet and get a coach. So you want to talk a little bit about the importance of having someone in your corner, like a coach, like you or like me?
So, do you want me to give you my story about how I came to find a coach or decide that I wanted a coach?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
definitely.
so I I'm gonna get real deep right here, if that's cool with
Let's
you.
do it.
So I grew up poor. I grew up really poor. And I have been around alcoholism, drugs. I was a dancer for almost 12 years. And I met my husband, and my husband is from a middle class family. All of his friends were all working in corporate America, and everybody had their stuff together. And when I met him, I was leaving dancing, and I was trying to find my place. And I did other things while I was doing that. Like, I owned a couple businesses. I owned a nail salon. I owned a car show business where I put on classic car shows, trying to find my place,
Cool.
find something that I could do that could get me out of the club. And when I met him, I felt less than. Like, I loved him, and everybody treated me good, but I felt less than because I knew where I came from, and I was so scared to let anybody know what was going on in my life. Like, for almost 10 years, I did not tell anybody that I danced at all. Like, that was a part of me that I locked away, threw it in the closet, and put big blankets over top of it so
Yeah.
nobody would ever find out. And it worked for me for a little while. And about 5 years in, I got pregnant with my daughter. And after I had my daughter, I decided to stay home with her. And I remember thinking to myself, like, be, I cannot show my daughter how to show up as herself and live in who she is if I can't do it myself.
Oh,
And at that point, I had lost myself because anything that I thought associated me to my old life, I hid, I got rid of, I pushed down inside of me, and I was a totally different person. And I didn't even recognize myself. I didn't know who I was. I had no purpose. I felt like I felt like a shell of a person. Like, I was just walking around doing the motions. And it took me a couple of years to, like, okay, what am I going to do? And I remember I had started a cake decorating business because I was like, okay, I want to do something for myself, and I love doing creative things. So I had started a cake decorating business, and while I was decorating cakes, I would listen to audiobooks. And I was listening to How to Be a Badass by Jen
Jen
Sincero.
Sincero.
That is, like, the best book ever. If you've not watched it or listened to it, read it, whatever, go out and get it right now. And I listened to that book probably like 15 times. And every single time I listened to it, the part that stuck out to me was that she would say, my life was just, I was just kind of going through life. And it wasn't until I got a coach that I was able to move forward. And that part just always stuck out to me. And I'm like, I don't even know what a coach is, but I know that what I'm doing right now is not working. I'm not moving up in life. I'm not doing, I'm still feeling like I'm lost inside of myself. And I'm like, I honestly felt like I was like in a hole and I was scraping and trying to get out of it. And I couldn't figure out how to get out of it. And I came across a life coach and I was like, "Oh my god, I need you in my life." And I just attached myself to her and I started working with her. And it's life coaches are not cheap. And I was a stay-at-home mom at that time. I was starting to decorate cakes. I actually took my retirement
Wow.
and cashed out some of my retirement to pay for the life coach for a year. And it was the scariest thing I ever did. Like I remember like sitting there, like I was hyperventilating, like, oh my God, what am I doing? But I knew that what was going on in my life was not ever going to get better if I didn't take drastic steps to make it different, because obviously things weren't getting any different by what I was doing.
Yep.
So I did it and I put in the work. I gave it 200%. I gave it my all and it completely changed my life. And I was able to find myself and stand taller and say, you know what, if these people don't like me because of my past, something that I did that I had to do to survive, then that's on them. That has everything to do with them and absolutely nothing to do with me. And I'm going to stand in who I am, whether they like me or not. And if they don't like me, that's their loss. And it just changed me. And once I seen the effects that it had on me, and even my kids, like I could see how me standing in who I was affecting my kids. And my kids are little. I have a 2-year old and a 5-year old. But to see that it was affecting them already at that age, I was like, I have to share this with other people. And that's why I became a coach, because I'm like, personal development and growth is a lifelong journey. But if I can be a sliver in someone's journey and help them like my first coach helped me, then my heart is full. Like
I
I
love
just
it. Oh, and what do you feel like gratitude played a role in that? What kind of role did gratitude play in that transformation?
I think being thankful just for my life, because for a lot of time I was ashamed of it. And once I was able to change my mindset and look at it as like, this is not a shameful thing. This is part of me. This is who made me who I am. And I would not be who I was if this didn't happen to me. I'm going to be able to relate to people that other people are not going to be able to relate to because of what I've gone through. And that's a blessing to be able to help people and meet them where they are. Because if I wouldn't have gone through those things and had to endure them, then I would not be able to help the people that I can help.
Love it. I love it. And that ties right into stories, right? Like the gratitude that the stories that we tell ourselves, that's what that's what affects our perception, because the stories that we tell ourselves become the scene. It becomes what we see, what we do. Because if we look at something, like you said, if you look at something and you see shame, you don't talk about it, it's gonna, shame eats away at you, right? And
Brings you, you like kind of over like this.
yeah,
And
and
I'm like, this is what I do. What?
yeah, and when you internalize shame, it makes it bigger, right? And the only way to diffuse shame is to talk about it. And I'm not, make sure you're talking to a non-judgmental friend. But when we talk about it, when we share those stories and we're vulnerable, that's when we relate to people. that's where the magic happens, right? So we're, that's, I tried to be very perfect. I remember in the beginning, and you're putting out this image and you're like, I've got it all figured out. And people don't want people like that. Like, if you got it all figured out, I don't want to hang out with you because I'm a mess, so you're just gonna make me feel bad about myself. Right?
All right.
Yeah. So that's awesome. So, do you have any parting words of wisdom for our listeners? Obviously, all your links are going to be included in the show notes, so if anyone can get in touch with you, including where you're doing your videos. Because the awesome thing that you do now is you're providing value for free to people, right? in
Yeah.
in your Facebook lives every day, so people could have access to some coaching without having to pay the big price, right? In the beginning, they can get to know you. So what are your parting words of wisdom here as far as overcoming yourself and gratitude, and hiring a coach?
I just, you don't have to let what everybody, I think that a lot of people let what everybody else might think of them become bigger than who they are.
Wow.
And we need to step away from that because everyone is special and everyone has something in them to give to others. And if you let the shadow of what other people are going to think about you hold you back, you're you're hurting people that you can help. And I'm a very firm believer that if something is placed inside of you, there's a reason for it. And we have to let that light shine so that we can help the people that we are meant to help. They are so much more important than the people that are going to talk junk, because the people that are going to talk junk are probably already talking junk anyway, and let them stay over there.
Yeah, I heard it once, like, if you're debating like which side of the fence you want to be on, if you go to the right, the people on the left are going to criticize you. If you go to the left, the people on the right are going to criticize you. And if you stay on the fence, both sides are going to call you lazy and indecisive. So just pick whatever you want to do and do
Exactly.
it.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Well, so thank you so much for joining us, Amy. I was about to say the sentence totally backwards. It's been an honor. I love watching your lives on Facebook, and I look forward to us continuing to work together. And let me know if you need anything from me, okay?
Thank you so much, Nicole.
Thank you. Have a great rest of the day. We'll talk soon. Okay.